coaching trade deadline already passed. Leader Fan Radio Network.
Okay.
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 29 seconds past 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. We welcome you back to a very special, potentially combustible afternoon aardvark here on a, relatively balmy for this time of year, weekday afternoon in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. My name is Dan Barreiro. I host the program. Guardsy produces the show, and we are delighted you're along for the full 3.5 hour ride today. Or are we out a little early?
3:15.
6:15, you mean?
3 hours, 15 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, 3 hours and 50 minutes.
Yes.
I see what you mean. So we're out at 6:15 today. You're out earlier than that. You got Golden Gopher women's basketball duties. We have a legitimate opponent tonight, don't we?
Marquette.
Yeah. They
Rick Majerus, Al McGuire.
That's it. They're off to a nice little plucky start themselves, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe we learn a little bit more about the Golden Gopher Women's Club, available to you via the iHeartRadio app. Do we have a dedicated Golden Gopher Women's Basketball channel?
We sure do.
Okay.
The Plus, 96.7 FM.
That's exactly it. So it'll be easy. What time's kickoff tonight?
7 o'clock.
7
Pre-game,
p.m.
6:30.
tonight. So Blakemore will be in eventually as well, probably after 4 o'clock to fill in for you as you prepare for your other duties. We have a very full broadcast today from a guest lineup standpoint, including Louis at 5:30, Mitch Lawrence at 4:30. First time we've caught up with him in a while. And Kevin Seifert is scheduled for 3:30 this evening. In the history of the National Football League, have we ever seen a coaching trade, head coaching trade between teams, either in the offseason or really juicy during a season?
Where it's coach for coach?
Coach for coach. Has it ever happened where it's coach for coach? Because I'm wondering if in the old days, like the Decatur Staley's days, the early years, the salad days of the National Football League, when it was a little more loosey-goosey, whether it might have happened. I don't think it's happened any time in my lifetime. I don't recall it. We have had trades to acquire the services of a coach.
Yes.
Where the other teams had to give up draft picks, right?
Yes, a lot of them.
Have we ever had coach for coach, head coach for head coach trade in the National Football League? And if not, why not? Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing? Can you imagine the attention a coach for coach in-season trade would garner in this 24/7
It'd be fascinating.
sports world? It would be endless.
Because do the
coverage
coaching
would be
staffs
continuous. Good question.
Does everybody go?
Yeah, that's it. That's where it gets probably even more complicated.
Yeah, it's probably why they haven't done it, but I think it would be interesting. It sounds like you've got an idea.
I do. I have an idea. I don't think it's likely to happen. I'm not even here to say I'm endorsing it. But can you make the argument if such a trade existed, if such a possibility existed, that the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings should embark on a head coach for head coach deal in which our guy, KOC, goes to the Packers.
I don't like
and
this.
Matt LaFleur comes here. It's an uncanny series of conversations I heard this morning, largely involving your guy, Dan Orlovsky. And you know what Orlovsky's number one complaint regarding the Green Bay Packers offense and their head coach, what's his name, LaFleur?
Matt LaFleur.
What it was today?
I'm assuming it's you don't let your quarterback throw enough.
He always runs the ball on 2nd and 10. He never stops running the ball on 2nd and 10. And I'm going, you can't make this stuff up. The issue here is, we even had, I think Sue had a column, that our guy, KOC, has to run the ball. That was the headline. Run the ball. The old, run, period, the, period, ball, period. So the complaint, as we laid out yesterday, was we don't run enough on 2nd and 5 or 2nd and 10 or on 3rd and 1. And in Green Bay, or at least according to Orlovsky, It's their guy is just too stubborn about sticking to the running game. So maybe we solve the issues because we know what KOC prefers to do. He wants to zing it. He wants to fling it. He wants to throw it over and over again, no matter the circumstance, and stop with the nonsense that, well, we can't really run it when it's a false start and it's 1st and 15. That's false. It's convenient, but it's false. It's provably false, by the way, if you have a running game that's working. But beyond that, what do we need? If that's true, that we need to run it more, LaFleur loves running it. Matt LaFleur might love calling more running plays for us. So is it possible these two coaches are in the wrong place at the wrong time, where in both cases there are issues, right? The Packers have a great defense, and they, again, had great difficulty at home scoring.
Yep.
Their coach is under siege for that. Our coach is under siege right now, maybe not at the same level, but pretty serious regarding this bizarre reluctance to run the ball. I just find it so fascinating that within the same division, you have both of these controversies going on at the same time with very different conclusions. In one case, we're running too much. In the other case, we're passing too much.
And you know how you have to have, in the NBA, when you make a trade, the salaries have to match up, or at least they have had to historically?
Yes.
If you're comparing BMIs, I feel like it's an even trade. They're both pretty good in the BMI, right?
That.
So you're swapping out
one
good BMI for another BMI. You're not losing anything, so everybody should feel fine about that aspect.
So
you
don't think either team should demand a little more to make up for the BMI, I guess, loss?
Makes it now
pretty equal.
KOC's probably taller. I was going to say you could probably just leave all the coaching clothes in the closet.
KOC is much more likely to wear a ball cap.
Yeah,
than LaFleur, right? I don't know. Is LaFleur ever wear one? I don't think he wears one on the sidelines, does he?
No, not usually.
Not usually. Our guy always wears a ball cap. To the point where some people, they don't even like looking at him. He doesn't have the ball cap on.
Well, it is jarring.
When he shows up like at Wolves games.
Yeah, it is jarring.
Yeah.
He has mentioned LaFleur's hair, though, from time to time, on that he wouldn't wear a hat if he had LaFleur's hair.
It's a fascinating deal. And you could make the argument that the moral of this story is that critics on both sides are overreacting. And this sort of, I guess, crystallizes life of a National Football League head coach, where you're constantly under the microscope. For example, who's the Eagles head coach?
Nick Sirianni.
Speaking of being under siege, he's under siege after winning the game. Well, he's constantly under siege, even though he just won a Super Bowl.
Right.
But he's under siege because he had the audacity, the temerity, the gall to go for it on, was it 4th and 5? And he throws a deep pass that, by definition, opens the door to the Green Bay Packers moving. All they had to move really was, I think, 25 yards to get a game-tying field goal at the end of the game.
I know, it's strange.
It's a 3-point game. So it's a league where, again, all these coaches are paid handsomely. So I'm not suggesting that you should feel sorry for them. But that's all the talk, at least from Orlovsky. Now, I don't know in Green Bay whether, the head coach is getting questions after the game like, you feel like you're coaching for your job? Which is pretty frontal,
that was
pretty aggressive. And he basically said he always feels like that's what he's doing. So here's what's weird to me about it, though. Aren't they still in first? No, are they? They actually have one less victory because of the tie.
Right, correct.
So they went from first place to tied for second or third. I don't know where they are, but they're not out of this thing yet. It's a weird loss. I guess I'm just trying to understand. Is it because allegedly they've had their quarterback in place and they should be, as a result, they have to be going for it right now, where our head coach has a continuous honeymoon period because, interestingly, he and the front office chose to accept, of 4 options, probably for 2025, the least desirable option, going with J.J. McCarthy now? That's convenient. I guess I'm kind of scratching my head about that, especially as we see Sam Darnold continue to fling the ball around like he might be all-pro this season. Don't text me. I know. It was the postseason. He didn't play very well in the postseason. We saw it We talked about it. We are indeed aware of it. Let me know if you like that trade. What do you think of that deal? Or would you want something else thrown in from the Green Bay Packers?
The Fan and 2 men and a junk truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. First keyword of the afternoon is cash. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword cash.
Dean from Hermantown writes, Dan, I don't want any trade. Are we just bored? I think both coaches are pretty good, but LaFleur is kind of an ass bag. What does that mean? Why is he an ass bag?
Because he coaches the Packers, probably. Oh. Guilt by association.
He has a crankier looking demeanor on the sidelines. I'll give you that. But I don't know that necessarily, I don't know that he should necessarily be judged on that. That trade only needs several other pieces added. Brian Gutekunst and the player evaluation staff. Maybe we could get some value out of the draft and build long-term success from within. Wow. Savage. That's
not a
Jeff
crazy fan.
In Monticello. Sounds like Guardsy has a cold. Bring in Blakemore early so Justin could take a nap before calling an entire basketball game.
We'll see how it goes tonight.
If you are swapping coaches with the Packers, why not make it a package deal and swap quarterbacks too?
No, I don't want to do that.
LaFleur and J-Love for KOC and J-Mac. Interesting. That's controversial. Well, according to Orlovsky, J-Love's not the problem. The head coach is the problem. He's being too careful with him. He's too worried about turnovers. Well, some of those turnovers hurt him last year, I think. So he's basically saying, let it loose. Just let Jordan Love just fling the ball around. Just let it go. Which might be true, but also might just be convenient because there's a downside to letting any quarterback, including him, just letting the ball go. Dan, did you see Darnold in the playoffs? No, seriously, at least he got us to the playoffs. I like the idea of the deal. I would ask that you bring it up with Gerby. You know, close circuit to 612 guy, I'm not going to read your text. Do you have any understanding how this program works? Do you really think I'm suggesting this trade literally? Do you not understand it's merely a device to discuss just how fascinating we get, how crazed we get that in one NFC North market, it's run the ball. And in another NFC market, it's start passing the ball. That's the point of this discussion. That these two issues should be rearing their heads at the very same time within the same division is fascinating to me. It may be true. In the case of the Vikings, I think it is true. I haven't watched enough Packer football to know that the problem there is they're trying to run the ball too much. But I will say this, and I don't know if Seifert can confirm this or not. Whose tree is LaFleur from? What coaching tree is Matt LaFleur? Do we know? Do we remember?
We think Shanahan.
Oh, that's a Shanahan deal?
We think so.
Well, that makes sense.
They were in Washington together.
Because Shanahan he believes in the running game, right? He certainly thinks that's a precept. What about the Rams head coach? What tree is he from?
McVay?
Yeah.
Same.
Okay, same.
Everybody's from Shanahan.
My gut tells me that over a period of years, both of those coaches have remained far more committed to the run bit than our guy ever has, even though he also comes from the same tree. And I, for the life of me, still don't understand why that is, why it's that difficult. Especially now. Especially, you could even argue, 2 years ago when we had to use like 9 different quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
I just, for the life of me, do not understand it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. A couple other good texts on this with some other ideas. There's a lot of Gerbschmidt cheap shots, not surprisingly.
Yeah, it makes sense. We'll ask him.
Who has the better BMI? My interest in this trade is completely dependent on that. If you had to make a decision, because I think they are close.
Yeah.
But Tom in Crystal wants to know who's got. They may both have great BMIs, but that's not the question. Who has the better BMI?
Yeah, I think LaFleur does.
LaFleur might.
Yeah, I think LaFleur does.
You think our guy's thickening a little bit?
No, I think LaFleur's a little. I think LaFleur. I was listening to Seifert laugh back here. I think LaFleur's a little. I think he hits the weights a little harder than our guy.
Oh, interesting.
I think our guy may have been influenced by TB12. I think he does more stretching.
You might be.
And like more Peloton. I think LaFleur can throw some weight around.
If we had the intrepid beat reporting in this town that we deserve, we'd know the answer to this question already. That would have been. We would have the analytics. We would have the raw numbers on the BMI of at least our head coach.
Yeah.
And in Green Bay, same thing. We would have a little bit more detail on this. Unfortunately, we don't.
Why haven't we done a coach's combine at one of the 50 off-season meetings in like Palm Springs and Florida and Arizona when they're at the Phoenician? Why don't we just set up a couple of combine events and let the coaches run through them?
I got no problem with that.
Andy Reid would do it.
Whose hair do you like better, LaFleur's, or? Well, we never see KOC's hair.
KOC's a hat guy, which I like better. As you know, I'm more of a hat guy.
You're definitely a hat guy.
So I like KOC's overall vibe, I think, better. LaFleur's too heavy with like the vest, too. You know, he wears too many layers. I don't trust guys that wear too many layers.
You don't like the layers?
No, like KOC.
I think it's a good look.
Yeah, you would.
Because he usually goes the sleeveless.
Yeah, exactly. The vest and the sleeves. We're happy
much
for
going
you.
for you.
Yeah, you got family photos after this in a
too
meadow.
Precious?
Yeah.
Well, he definitely, I think he's got more of the old style Pat Riley goop in his hair than KOC ever has.
Correct.
Don't you?
Yes.
I think there's a lot of that kind of stuff.
More of a matte finish guy, I think.
Sol and Blaine, wow. You know, you don't always have to draft your franchise quarterback. You are allowed to trade or luck into signing him.
Excuse me?
Just ask the Lions, Buccaneers, Seahawks, Colts, Rams how it's working for them. This is a painful offense to watch at times. I wanted Rodgers for 1 year to give the kid one more year to learn while healthy. But I was on board with committing to Darnold going forward and admit I had little interest in Jones being an option. We're haunted by the Herschel Walker trade. This past offseason may haunt us more. I think this coach may not be able to have the patience to coach a young QB and requires a vet QB to run his offense. We are wasting JJ's, as in Justin Jefferson's prime years. I don't think it will happen, but I hope it's not Diggs Part 2. That would be ironic, being as the Diggs trade brought us JJ in the first place.
That's true, it did.
You know, he's onto something. Part of your problem, and many Vikings fans' problem, is that obsession with, we got to draft our guy, our franchise guy. We got to. I'm sick of this. We always do it the other way, and I'm tired of it. I want us to draft our franchise guy. But you got to draft the right guy.
You do.
Wait till I unleash some analytics on Seifert once he gets in here.
That are easily correctable.
It's one of the most amazing, I think it would be called a line graph, that I've ever seen relating to quarterback production so far this season across the National Football
I have a feeling I know which way it's going.
Have you seen this particular one?
No, I have
It was
not.
brought to my attention, and I thought it might have been brought to your attention, too. I think the Eagles thought that the fourth down pass at worst would have been picked off almost like a punt then. Yeah, but if it's incomplete, it goes back to the line of scrimmage is the problem.
You don't do a play hoping for an interception.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Not a smart idea.
No, because you're right. An interception would assert if it's picked off at the 2, then you win in that. But how do you possibly you can't possibly assume that that's the way that play is going to be going to end. All right, Seifert, as I mentioned, will be in shortly. Mitch Lawrence on a bunch of stuff. The Dallas Mavericks fired their general manager, and we did not, because we were so busy largely with Viking stuff, owed one of the great National Basketball Association names of all time. The kids don't know the name. They should. Lenny Wilkins has passed away, I think, at the age of 88. Hell of a run. Historic career as a player and a coach. I covered him in some playoff rounds. Mitch covered him a lot. So Mitch Lawrence will be with us at 4:30 to discuss that story, kind of ode to a dead guy, and some more current stuff as well regarding several teams in the National Basketball Association, and including the Dallas Mavericks getting rid of the guy who traded Luka away. Luigi, on your suddenly red hot with too many goaltenders. We've gone from not sure we have one goaltender to we now have too many goaltenders, and are we going to be able to keep them both happy? It turns around really quick in the National Hockey League. Louis on all that and more at 5:30. Kevin Seifert is in the house. Text us at the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686. I know your research is limited in this particular area, but if you had to, and I don't know how you make this call without the numbers, but if you had to just do eye test, better BMI in your opinion, LaFleur or KOC?
We're getting to the hard-hitting stuff right away.
Yeah. Well, because none of the other stuff can be fixed.
BMI, like the
body mass index.
Yeah, the lower you are, the better, correct?
Yeah, allegedly, yes. Yeah. I think that's the way it's evaluated. O'Connell looks pretty, like if you look at pictures of him when he played compared to now, like he lost a lot. He's one of those guys that lost a lot of weight after he played. He's a little doughy when he played the QB position?
He was built to take hits and play quarterback.
Okay, right.
And he's pretty thin now.
Okay.
So I don't know that
he's not going to be mad at you if you pick LaFleur.
Oh, you don't
not necessarily.
Yeah, won't go that far. Yeah. That's who I'd go with. I don't know.
All right. Again, we will take some questions, and some of them will be even more hard hitting than that.
Oh my goodness!
So the first Packer game is at Lambeau Sunday, November 23rd. We'll have to monitor the coach's handshake and get an up-to-date picture of the two of them together.
Who would win in an arm wrestling
or hand grip or what's
competition between the two?
Doesn't Marty Wexler III have like a hand grip?
He did.
He's more of a toe grip.
A toe grip. That's what
I think he had a hand one too, though. But toe grip was.
he did it because he had to. But the toe grip was the advancement.
I think KOC would win arm wrestling.
He's got leverage. I'm sure his arms are longer. Isn't that like a big part?
Is he taller?
Yes.
Much.
Yeah. Oh, is he much taller?
Oh yeah. O'Connell's he's like 6'6".
He's not that tall.
I think he is.
He's pretty tall, yeah.
He's listed
as they do that with coaches too. They lie about their height.
When he was at San Diego State, I'm almost positive that's what they listed him. I'd say he's probably legit 6'5". And
what's LaFleur, 5'6"?
He's not that
short.
But he's in the average 5'9" type 10.
It is interesting that right now there are two coaches under siege. It may be worse in Green Bay than it is here. But as I laid out...
Is O'Connell under siege?
Well, I think he's under siege for one thing in particular.
Okay.
I don't think he's under siege like his job's in jeopardy.
Right.
I think he's under siege rightly, in my opinion, and this is not... You've heard me say this a million times, for a curious belief that if it's 2nd and 10, you can't run on 2nd and 10. You can barely run on 3rd and 3. And what I said was ironic is that your guy from ESPN, Orlovsky, was just blistering the Green Bay Packers head coach. And what was the Orlovsky complaint? All he wants to do is run the ball on 2nd and 10. He needs to throw, and unleash, which I think to me the moral of the story is we always have the answers.
Yeah.
And it's just fascinating how different it can be. Where here right now, he's got to stop falling in love with always throwing the ball. And there he's got to stop running the ball stop being obsessed with the run.
Yeah, for me, it's always, if it didn't work, they should have done the other thing. That's usually the answer for us on the outside. The differences between the Packers and the Vikings there is that you've developed your quarterback in Green Bay. You're paying him a $220 million. Like he's
$50 million a year, right?
If you're not,
and you're scoring 7 points,
if you're not willing to air it out on 2nd and 10 or whatever, like that isn't they did go out and get Jacobs last year and are paying him a lot of money too, but they're supposedly have an established, developed quarterback. And
remember,
and then the turnaround here would be like you don't. And so, maybe the run makes more sense.
That's fair. Although, if you recall, we've talked about this before a bunch on this show. If you go back to Aaron Rodgers, some of Aaron Rodgers' best years in Green Bay, running the ball was always a part of who was the guy who was the coach before LaFleur?
Mike McCarthy.
McCarthy.
Yeah.
He was devoted to that as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And
why has KOC skipped over this, even though everybody else in the same tree has remained committed to it as much as they want to be able to fling it?
So it's interesting. He has, I would say, in the last season and part of this season, sort of incrementally, if you look at the numbers, incrementally called more design runs, or at least they've run more design runs. But it's incremental, and I just think like that's who he is. Like that's if you get to the core of
I agree
of what his philosophy is for winning games. That you need to have, at the very least, you need to have a certain number of explosive plays, because if you're just trying to drive it, 70 yards and 14 plays every time, you're only going to get so many bites of the apple. Like that's just how many of those drives can you have in the course of a game? You need chunk plays to make scoring easier or to score. And it's itself on those plays. And I think that's just who he is. I think and I'm writing about this for later this week. I think even though I think they've probably pulled back on some of the things that they do, with respect to the quarterback and his experience level, they're still airing it out. They're still, I think they're top, within the games McCarthy has played, I think they're still in the top 10 of the NFL in design passes, and he is, and Alec Lewis pointed this out, and I checked it out in our True Media ESPN database as well. JJ McCarthy leads the NFL in air yards per attempt. And air yards are like the actual amount of yards that goes past the line of scrimmage before it gets to the receiver. So these are still downfield, chunk attempts at chunk plays, and some of it's his decision making. But those are the plays that are the way he's interpreting the plays and reading the plays. So I just think that's who.
Well, but
that's who he is.
Okay, but that's not an excuse to me, because at some
but if you're
point,
asking why it's happening,
right?
That's why it's happening.
Okay, and I don't disagree with that, but we can always use that for any coach that tries to overcompensate or does not give, at least in theory, his team the best chance to succeed. Is that that's what he's made of? I would consider that a flaw. I would consider that. And because you and I have talked, you've quoted this stuff going back 2 years, the year we had Pasternaut.
Right.
The fact that he was so, I guess, enthusiastic about that approach that he continued to throw the ball downfield then more than any team in the league. That's illogical. It might be a little more logical with this guy because even though he's young, he's not considered a journeyman like Pasternaut was.
Yeah.
But I think to me, it goes back to the old thing of how you give any quarterback, especially one just starting to, trying to get started, the best chance to succeed.
And I think what he's trying to do is put him in some tough and difficult and potentially uncomfortable positions, and that's in his mind. He said this explicitly Sunday.
Yes.
That's where the growth is. And so
then he doesn't care about this season. He can't see. That's where I think he needs to be challenged more. And he can't have it both ways.
Well, I don't think. The other part of the quote was that we're trying to balance that with a chance to win. But to me, that just speaks to the larger thing of what they've been talking about since the beginning of the season. Of, threading this needle of trying to compete, spending almost $350 million on the roster with a quarterback who hadn't played before. Like that's the nature of the needle that they're threading. That they're not in a place where they can take a tank year or whatever you want. It's not tank, but like a year where it doesn't matter if they win or lose because of the way the roster is constructed, and frankly where they are in their process of since they got here, him and Kwesi.
Don't they call that hubris? I mean, to me, that's the area, because I think in their mind they convinced themselves we're loaded enough and I'm smart enough that we're going to be able to pull this off right away.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. And, I don't think that they went in like creating like a fantasy, following a fantasy that they didn't think would ever work. I think that they felt like they could pull it off, but whether it was they thought there was a 30% chance they could pull it off or a 90% chance, like that would be the difference there.
Texter, this is 651 guy. Does the air yard take into account when JJ throws to an open defensive back? Wow. So they've turned on him already.
They have.
Have you seen the chart, the quarterback efficiency chart I'm talking about? It's got a lot of pretty colors.
No.
You seen this one?
Maybe, but go ahead.
This one, here's how it reads. Win probability 0 100%, regular weeks 1 to 10, playoffs none, minimum 100 plays, downs 1 to 4, quarters all. I don't even know what that means. And pretty much every quarterback who's played this year is on this. I don't know if you call this a line graph. I don't know the technical name for it. And again, let me get it out of the way. I'm not giving up on the QB.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting they cut him.
Yeah.
We know all that. But he's playing, and you still get to evaluate what you see. And according to this quarterback efficiency chart,
is he on it?
Well, he's circled there, lower left. See the lower left?
Yes.
He's below. He's several points below Ward.
Yeah.
And he's listed under the minus 0.20. Every other quarterback, Dylan Gabriel is well ahead of him. Jake Browning is well ahead of him. Justin Fields, Geno Smith. The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
He's below everybody else.
And this is inefficiency?
It says quarterback efficiency, but then that's an awfully broad subject, so I don't know what that defines.
That's an analytic term, and it can be defined in a lot of different ways. We use QBR, and that's
he's not even on the chart on QBR.
Actually, I looked this up. So there's been, I think it's 46 quarterbacks who have started at least one game.
Right.
His QBR is 44th, and in this case, Cam Ward's a little bit below him. Cam Ward in Tennessee, the first overall pick this year. Everybody
with a team that's supposed to be terrible.
Yeah, everybody else is ahead of him. And so, you don't make future projections based on what the 4 games look like, but the 4 games have been rough.
It's all part of the evaluation process.
I look at it like there's been enough examples that if you're an optimist, you pull out those throws and you say, well, this is
the first drive was terrific.
You can say it's there. Like, I see it. I can see all the things that he needs to be a really good quarterback, but there's the consistency level just isn't there yet. And I think you look at him and you say, this is a guy who hasn't played enough to create the muscle memory to throw the ball with the same fundamentals and footwork every time. And when over the course of a game gets amped up and he loses a lot of that footwork and fundamentals, and the ball sprays all over the place. What's the answer to that? You got to play. You got to create that muscle memory by continuing to get rep after rep after rep, and it's possible. And then you have to hope that by doing that, it brings it takes the far end of the good plays and the far end of the bad plays and starts moving everything together, and you create a consistent player.
A lot. I mean, the texts are pouring in here.
Oh no,
no, it's not all bad. JJ is having a hard time for the same reason Darnold eventually had a hard time. KOC refuses to accept short completions as good plays. Stafford is a much more accomplished quarterback, and McVay runs lots of plays to get the ball out quick. And look, I've seen plays where Stafford's going deep too, but there are a lot of short completions, and there's power to short completions too. And that, I think, is another factor that I think sometimes is this head coach just is not all that interested in. I don't know why. Somebody is saying they believe they're concerned. Are you concerned, Seifert, that J-Mac and Justin Jefferson seem to have negative chemistry at this point?
They don't have negative chemistry, but they aren't on entirely on the same page either. And it's interesting that it looks like he looks like he has more chemistry with Naylor and Addison.
Yeah,
two guys he spent all of training camp throwing to while Justin was injured with the hamstring. Justin is also a unique player and Justin talked a lot about this summer. A unique route runner. He has the stride that allows him to make turns that most people don't make and to get to spots that most people don't get to. And it takes some time to get used to throwing to him. And you throw 12 times in his way and there's 4 connections, and then you say like it's hard to conclude anything other than the fact that they have more work to do to get on the same page.
When was the moment? So you were at the game, so I don't even know if you detected this or saw it, but it was shown very vividly on the screen for those of us
in the Barca Loungers.
Are in the Barca Loungers, yeah. You got to talk me off the ledge on this because it's bugging me. I am. Guardsy knows this already. He's not surprised, but the whole alter ego thing, I'm bored with already. It's too soon for all of this stuff, in my opinion. I think you got to do a lot more before you can sell this, and people aren't going to do anything but roll their eyes. But beyond that, the first drive was great.
Yeah.
Right? The long throw, mean, that you can't put the ball in any better place than he did to the left. That was Naylor, right?
Yes.
And then he even gave him room then to break away, to keep running. That was a great play.
Yeah.
But did you see, I don't know if it was right then or it was during that drive, there was a camera shot, and it's closing up. It's a close-up of the QB. And he's looking towards, it looks like the bench. And he's got that sort of hard-ass look, like, almost like, see, I'm special.
Yeah.
Come on. I don't need, stop worrying so much about fostering this image of what you are. Just for 8 straight weeks, maybe 3 straight seasons, just go play. And all that other stuff will take care of itself.
So I don't get worked up about him playing that way, because that's the way he's always played. If you go back to Michigan, the thing about bringing up the name of that personality,
Nine,
which has been funny to see people spell it 2 different ways. It's almost like a battle. Nein is like a battle warrior or something. Right. But anyway, I think if he had to do that part over again, he probably wouldn't, and I'd be shocked if I hear him utter that again.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
it's all going to change again if he throws 3 touchdown passes and beats the Bears. I'm just telling.
And but frankly, the things that people liked about him universally all kind of revolve around that: the competitiveness, the energy, the fire. And it means something. It doesn't mean that you're going to be even.
It means
be a good
something,
player.
but not everything.
Right? No, and so, but that's certainly part of the positive side of the evaluation of him coming out of school, and I think that it's. Like I said, I think it means something, and I think it's had some impact. It's not going to matter if he can't complete more than 50% of his passes, obviously, but it's part of an overall winning package that he's continuing to try to build.
Dan, why are we not discussing? What did we not discuss at this time of year last year? Caleb Williams underperforming, Drake May underperforming. How about Nix all underperforming? All in the same draft class, all played a full season last year. I think I think that we need to take that into account. I have. In fact, Gartsy, I don't know if you were here that day, we discussed this in depth.
Yeah.
That I said the unfairness of what faces McCarthy is that unlike Drake May last year, unlike to a certain extent Caleb Williams last year, the team itself, there were no expectations, so there was a feeling of go play. Mm-hmm. If you make mistakes, there's nothing at stake. The Vikings set it up where there was going to be something at stake, and it was going to hurt more.
Yeah.
So, again, I'll argue that if anybody's been unfair to McCarthy, it may have been the Vikings by the way they've set this thing up. Because there's no question, May looks like a different quarterback this year. That's the beauty of going to a team where they're a mess and they're just the coach is probably a lame duck guy and they know they're going to make a change anyway, so we can just throw somebody out there. This team was not set up to be where it was just going to be accepted the same way by everybody, because you're coming off 14-3, and because you've spent all the money you have this offseason, it was going to feel differently whether that's fair to McCarthy or not.
Drake May is also really good.
He is, and they knew it.
And they knew it, and they would have been thrilled to get him. And so I think that's a little bit of it. And they definitely put McCarthy in a position where his mistakes were going to be more magnified, and everybody pays uber attention to young quarterbacks anyway. But his Drake May's mistakes last year, to the extent that he made them, didn't impact anything other than the fact that the Patriots had a better draft pick this year as a result. And so this year, the quarterback's mistakes could potentially impact whether they make the playoffs.
All right. How about this question? Remind your guest. I guess he doesn't know your name. Just said your guest.
It's all right. It's only been a few years since I started with you.
That McCarthy was a top 10 pick we moved up to get. We shouldn't have to be working after 2 years on fundamentals, et cetera, et cetera. This was, I know, a pet peeve for Gardsey, because we heard for some time he was heard about, we got to work the base, balance, and we got to work the balance, all this stuff. Yeah, exactly. And there is a part of me that goes, really? I mean, he's young, but he's not 12, and he didn't play a lot last year, but he's been here this is his second year here. So do people not have a right to be a little bit concerned when we're talking about stuff that seems to be the elementary stuff that you associate maybe with a 6th-round draft choice or a free agent quarterback who's just raw, but we got to work on all this base stuff. Yeah. He's supposed to be more polished than that, isn't he?
Well, I think that went to the big debate with him was that he just hadn't played a lot. He played 3 years of college football. He threw 700 or so passes, which is about half of what the rest of the class had thrown in college. And that doesn't mean that guarantees that. I mean, you have to throw 1,500 passes in college to have the muscle memory of the footwork and the fundamentals and the base that you need. But he does, and we can debate whether he should have or shouldn't have or whatever, but that's where it's at. And that's what they're working on. And if he isn't able to push past that, he's going to be a 50% passer, in his career. But the feeling is that it's something that other quarterbacks have been able to push through and improve. And there's no reason to think that he can't.
All right. Do you have any other quarterback thoughts that are in your head coming off this last game before we clear the decks and go in, believe it or not, other directions?
Like I said, I have some story coming. Hopefully, it'll be tomorrow about this. And I just think that they
give us a preview, give us a taste.
No, and I think what it should to me. What
is there a scoop in it?
No scoops. What if you want my Sid impression? He used to say when somebody would write a story that he didn't respect, he would, no scoops. There's no scoops in that story.
That's true.
I think what the 4 games has revealed is that. While I think they might have taken some of the most complicated parts of the passing game out for him, they are giving J.J. McCarthy a full NFL passing offense to develop in. And this is not a boot left, boot right, screen left, handoff 35 times a game. And like, for example, the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson way back in the day before he eventually developed into more of a passing threat. And it increases the likelihood that there'll be some plays on tape that you would never want to put on tape.
Yes,
and we've seen those. But it also reveals that Kevin O'Connell, who is famously said that organizations fail, quarterbacks before the opposite, that before quarterbacks fail the organizations, that his method of developing quarterback is to, as I said earlier, is to put him in at least some difficult and uncomfortable positions, and that's where the growth comes from. It kind of goes to the just being in the parent meat grinder as you are. This ongoing debate about helicopter parents and whether
when to swoop in, when to back off,
whether you're responsible for plowing a perfect road in front of your kids so that they have the best chance to succeed. When do you let your kids fail? When do and what's the outcome when they fail? Do they actually learn more from failing than they do from succeeding? And do you ultimately turn out to be in a better spot because you let your kids, or your kids end up being in a better spot because you let them fail? And so I think, I haven't heard O'Connell say that explicitly, but I think that's clearly what is happening here, is that there's an aggressive push to expose him and to get him functioning in some high level stuff, not as much high level as they've done in the past, but some of it, and he might fail in some of it, and hopefully he learns from it and it makes him better in the long run.
All right, let's make this the top of the hour break, go into a couple of other directions, whether Vikings fans should be devastated with a personnel announcement that came down not that long ago. That does not include a new addition to the Vikings secondary. That and much more with Seifert. Don't forget, before we're done, we also have Louis at 5:30 tonight. Mitch Lawrence at 4:30.